Hey, how you doing? Welcome to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I'm J.P. I'm your man. If you're my age and you like professional wrestling, then this is probably a good channel for you because to me, wrestling was my entire childhood. My childhood was basically centered around the guy behind me on that poster. And it was also centered around these WWF and WCW action figures. These things, I had so much fun playing with these things. And that's what this channel is all about. It's all about the memories of pro wrestling, the memories of playing with these action figures. And I'm going to talk about my collection. I don't have an extensive collection. I don't have, behind me, I don't have shelves and shelves and shelves of wrestlers to show you. But I will show you what I do have. And so I'll just start off by talking about how I got into professional wrestling. Well, it was 1986. I was a little 8-year-old kid, and Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling cartoon was on the TV on a Saturday. And I loved it so much. And then there were probably matches that I had seen before, but the earliest match I remember seeing was a 6-man tag team match. Hulk Hogan, Rowdy Roddy Piper, and I believe Billy Jack Haynes. And their opponents, I believe, were Adrian Adonis, Don Morocco, and Hercules. And from that point on, I was hooked. And before wrestling figures, Hot Wheels were basically my toy of choice because it was a cheap toy. It was never very much of an effort to get my mom to buy me one at the store. But after a while, I learned about wrestling figures. Now, I knew about the LJNs, but I never really had any when I was a kid because I didn't know what they were called. And if I would have told my dad, hey, I want an LJN, he would have come home with something else for my birthday because I loved my dad. But you had to physically show him what it was you wanted. Otherwise, he would just go to the store like, what was it that he wanted? I can't remember. Anyway, so I did know of the LJNs. There was a kid down the street from me that had them. And him and I played with those, and we had so much fun. I had so much fun playing with those. And then my best friend, who was a wrestling fan, he had a bunch of LJNs. So him and I would play with those. But around 1990 is when the Hasbros came out. These things. And so I was in Kmart, and I saw the Hasbro ring on the shelves. And I begged my mom, Mom, you got to get me the Hasbro ring. I got to have the ring. So she caved in. She got it for me. I didn't have any of the wrestlers, but I had some action figures at home that I would use. I had a couple of Dick Tracy figures. I had a couple of Terminator figures. I had one Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figure, which was a Casey Jones with missing arms. And I started having matches with those guys. And then finally, I acquired Big Boss Man and Jake the Snake Roberts. And that's when my whole world opened up. I was just hooked. And from that point on, me, my best friend, we would go to the store, we would go to Toys R Us and KB Toys, and we would just start collecting wrestling figures. And we had our own storylines and, personal grudges, and, we basically had our own federation. And it got to the point where we actually got some old material, cut it up, and decorated our rings, and each one of us had like a different color scheme, and we would hold wrestling events over the phone. And then when we would get together is when we would have pay-per-views and big events, and it was just a lot of fun. I had so much fun playing with these wrestlers. I had so much fun. And if I seem a little nervous, I'm sorry. This is my first video. I'm still kind of getting the hang of it. I'm still trying to work out the bugs. I don't really have the angles quite right. Later on I'll work on it. I'll tweak it. And but anyway, if you like old school wrestling and old school wrestling figures, I encourage you to continue to tune in because I'm going to be talking a lot of wrestling. There's a lot of ugly stuff going on in the world right now, and sometimes I like to just get lost in this world because this is a great source of comfort for me. Old school wrestling. And, I'll go in and talk about, my thoughts on the WWE network on Peacock. Also, my thoughts on modern figures versus old figures. I'll talk about, sort of my issues with the new figures. And, there's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff. And so, you tell me what it is. What do you want to see from me? I could try to set it up to where I actually have matches with these guys. I couldn't care less. I'm a 45-year-old man. If you want to see me play with Hasbros and Galoobs on camera, I'll do it. And right now I don't have any I don't have a script or anything. I'm just doing it off the cuff, but this is my world. This was my world for a good chunk of my childhood, especially that guy on the poster back there. Oh yeah, I was really into him. But anyway, starting my next show, I will probably start introducing you to my collection. It's like I said, it's not extensive, and I'll profile 2 wrestlers, and I'll go from there. And we'll just see where this thing goes. I'm inviting you along for the journey. But in the comments, tell me, what is it that you want to see? I know there's a lot of videos out there that talk about wrestling. There's a lot of ones that talk about wrestling figures. But then some of them, also talk about, growing up in the 80s and 80s nostalgia. And that's all good. I watch those channels too. But this one is focusing just on the wrestling, because that's what I love. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me. And I hope that you'll join me in the future. Bye-bye.